Janelle Monáe, and you're watching Under the Gun TV.
So it's the last day of 2013, and you get to ring in the 25th annual Peach Drop in Atlanta for the Year of the Peanut with M&amp. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How did it feel to find out you were chosen to be the performer for the New Year's Eve event?
Amazing. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, so the Peach Drop is a tradition here, and I'm just so thankful that M&amp wanted me to headline, and they're just such an amazing sponsor to have. First of all, I love M&amp. It's one of my favorite candies, and the funniest thing is that I just found out through them, this is going to be the year of the peanut, but only one in 100 peanuts, out of 100 peanuts, actually makes it into the pack of M&amps.
Really?
Yes. So that was cool, just learning my little facts about M&amps and just bringing in the New Year's with so many thousands of people in Atlanta. It's just, words cannot express. It's pretty much a hell of a way to end 2013.
Yeah. And so you're originally from Kansas City, right? So I imagine coming back and returning to the South for what turned out to be a pretty monumental year for you must feel really exciting.
It's truly, it's always great to be home. I've been in Atlanta for quite some time, and it's definitely like my second home. And, growing up in Kansas City, Kansas, where there's so much snow, it feels good not to have snow on tonight. So, yeah, I'm just really thankful to be alive and to be a part of such a huge celebration.
Yeah. And then not only are you performing at the Peach Drop, but you're going to be receiving Billboard's Rising Star Award for 2013 as well. So how does it feel to be joining past recipients that are, as huge now as Nicki, Minaj, and Lady Gaga?
Yeah, I've received the Rising Star Award already, and it was just such an amazing experience. And there's so many amazing young girls and artists out who could have received that award. And so I just look at it as encouragement. I hope that it inspires other female artists coming up to just stay true to their core values and their artistic expressions and, embrace the things that make them unique, even if it makes others uncomfortable. And I hope to pass the baton down to, another young woman who is redefining what it means to be an artist.
Yeah. And then, so your sophomore album, The Electric Lady, debuted very high on multiple charts, from top 200 to R&B and hip-hop, and just met all of the high expectations that were set for its release. So what was it like creating that album, especially with all this excitement surrounding it?
I had, it was a journey. It was truly a journey. Lots of peaks and valleys and lows and highs and, so many roads I've traveled while creating it. And I had the opportunity to collaborate with some of today's greatest musicians and artists, in my opinion. I worked with Miguel, and I worked with Solange Knowles and Erykah Badu and Esperanza Spalding, and one of my musical heroes, Prince. So to be able to produce those artists and work with them and create, this sense of community with the Electric Lady was truly a dream of mine. And I had the opportunity to just tell the stories of us women. We're complex. We are not monolithic, not all the same. And I used instruments like the horns and strings and synthesizers to just express the many different cries that we have. We cry out about, the things that we may want to change within the community. And I think the Electric Lady is just this new 21st century woman who's bold and fearless and audacious, and she stands up for the rights of others, and she knows that she has to be the change that she wants to see.
Yeah. And so because the album is so centered around female protagonists and this empowerment that comes along with it, were there personal experiences that prompted you to focus on this, or were there experiences you wanted to mirror in the album?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of personal experiences on this album, and I, wrote about them all, from Queen to Ghetto Woman to Dorothy Dandridge Eyes, till We Were Rock and Roll. I can go on and on and on, but when you listen to those are true stories, and or they can be from people who are close to me in my life that I wanted to tell their stories. From Sally Ride, you know, she feels very close to me because I studied her. She was the first female astronaut in the U.S. to go to space. So I had the opportunity to kind of study her and tell her story and just pay homage to her. And, you know, my list goes on.
Are there any other female role models you really looked up to when you were recording this album?
Sure. My grandmother, my mother, who both wore uniforms, and my grandmother served food in the county jail for like 25 years, and she grew up a sharecropper in Mississippi. So her story is pretty incredible to me because, you know, she went from being a sharecropper, picking cotton and sharing one pair of shoes with her 14 brothers and sisters to owning like 4 homes and raising all 11 children, you know, by herself, you know, after my grandfather passed. And so I got taught the importance of working hard and what it means to turn nothing into something, and you know, how to really work for your community. And my mom as well, she did the same thing. She had me at a pretty young age, and they made a lot of sacrifices, and I've been taught the importance and what it means to sacrifice, you know, and I try to do that with my music, and I try to use my image and, you know, my vision to make sure that I'm opening up doors for other young women so they don't have to deal with the marginalization of women, so they don't have to, you know, deal with as much sexism. I try to just use my life and my story and my art to bring awareness to those issues.
Yeah. And I think part of the way it's relayed so well is that while you are dealing with topics that can be considered somewhat heavy, the album is really, really fun overall. I remember when I was first describing it to a friend, I just couldn't stop saying how much fun the album is. And so when you were recording that, what was your favorite moment? Were there any times in the studio or even when you were writing it that you just, I don't know, that you just had something happen that you knew you weren't going to forget when you looked back on the record?
Sure. We definitely wanted to bring the fun on this album. I mean, you know, where there are inspirational anthems for women or, you know, some more introspective work, but there are songs from Electric Lady to, you know, even Queen to, I can go on to What an Experience to, I mean, I could just go on and on. We wanted to make sure that people were having fun in the midst of you know, receiving a message. And that's always kind of been the thing that I feel, you know, makes me unique, is because when I'm doing anthems from a tightrope to a Cold War, they're still danceable. You know, you can still play them at the club or on the radio or in your house, and they're not meant to bring you down. They're meant to uplift you and feed you and nourish you, and, you know, at the same time.
Yeah. And then going and translating that into a music video seems like it would be a lot of work. I mean, your music videos show a ton of creativity and imagination. So how long does it take you to come up with those ideas, and what is it like making those videos come to life?
I don't know how long it takes me to come up with ideas, but I will say that a lot of my ideas, or most of them, really do come from the creator. You know, being a creative, like, there are moments where I would have these dreams, and I would wake up out of my sleep and have to record the ideas that I had in my dreams. Or if I heard a band that didn't exist while I was asleep, I would have to, like, mumble whatever I could remember of the song that I heard. So a lot of those moments happen for this album. I'm also inspired by melody, so I'll, like, write lyrics to a melody, and the music is inspiring. I have the opportunity to work with, you know, some of this country's, you know, most incredible musicians from, and they all live here in Atlanta, majority of them, from Nate Rocket Wonder to Chuck Lightning to Roman John Arthur. We worked with players from the Emory Symphony Orchestra to Brazilian percussionists, and they really inspired me to want, you know, to create those melodies and then do the lyrics. So it really, it varies. It varies from time to time.
Mm-hmm. And would you ever see a feature-length movie based around this metropolis world becoming something we would make in the horizon? Absolutely.
I mean, I've been a writer for quite some time, and I love, you know, I take a very cinematic approach to every album that I make, and I love George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, I mean, you name it. And I grew up writing science fiction, and I look forward, you know, to the day when it does become an on-screen feature film.
Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, you've mentioned it a lot in this interview, but your work seems so fueled by inspiration, both over time and things that you would run into on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of that inspiration carries over to people who are listening to your albums. And it just makes me curious, have you always been this positive growing up? Like, what were you like as a teenager?
Whew. Well, I was still crazy. I mean, you know, as I'm doing this interview with you, I'm preparing to get extremely ridiculous on stage. And, you know, I think that I've been blessed to have parents who never stopped me from exploring, you know, being a creative and dancing in the grocery stores, knocking down beans or bananas on the floor. And they just kind of encouraged me to continue on being a colorful person. And so I just try to keep my childlike instincts that I developed over time. I keep that with me when I'm on stage, when I'm, you know, amongst friends and family. And I think that it is so important that you laugh and that you know, keep an agile mind and spirit.
Yeah. And then, I guess just lastly, since it's New Year's Eve, what are some of your resolutions for 2014?
I usually have themes, and I actually made my theme for 2014. I made it up last year. So I don't really share them with people. I kind of want to lead by example, and people should be able to see it in the way that I act and the things that I do. Yeah, I try not to like talk about them or anything. I just do it. You know what I mean? That works better for me.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the interview.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Hi, this is Janelle Monáe, and thank you guys so much for watching Under the Gun TV. You look just like a